The entire kitchen staff had gone out for New Year's Eve somewhere outside of the city and gotten some hellified trouble, and they were all in jail up in Rockland County, and they weren't coming back till Monday morning. Could I come in and work the New Year's Day brunch? Well, yeah, sure. How bad could it be?
From NCPR and the Adirondack Center for Writing, this is the Howl Podcast. I'm Ethan Shancy. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Howl Podcast. Today, we're going to hear a story from Michael McGuire, who was our Howl Grand Slam winner in 2026. He told his A for Effort story, a veritable fake it till you make it tale about how he cooked brunch for what he says is all of Brooklyn Heights on New Year's Day, his birthday. Michael was thrown into the job without any prior experience, and it got me thinking, I have always had imposter syndrome. I've felt like every job I've ever gotten into, every creative project I've gotten myself involved with, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I thought for sure that someone would find me out. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that every single person I know has imposter syndrome and has adopted a fake it till you make it approach to life because you have to. When I was a kid, I thought every adult in my life had things figured out. It turns out as I've become an adult, none of them had any of it figured out. Everyone is just trying to get along. Mitch Teich is our station manager here at North Country Public Radio, and this is his first time as a station manager, but I think he's done an okay job at least.
Very, very charitable of you to say that.
And I know that you've worn a lot of different hats in public radio before becoming our station manager. What is your imposter syndrome story?
It's actually, it dates to before I was in public radio. I was in commercial radio.
Okay, wow.
When I started
so was
in
I.
this world. And actually, I don't even know if I was smart enough to have had imposter syndrome at that point. I was 23 years old. I had just graduated from college, and I was hired to be the news director. That implies that I had some aptitude at directing things at a small commercial radio station in the, I would say, small town of Decorah, Iowa. It's about the size of Potsdam, say. And it had a commercial radio station, and they needed a new news director. And they hired me, Mitch Teich, who had recently graduated from college and whose professional news experience had consisted of a semester as an intern at a commercial station in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where I had reported on a lot of stories, but I was in college and was taking a lot of direction myself. So at some level, the people who ran this little station in Decorah, Iowa, trusted that I had the aptitude to direct things. And at the time, I was 23. And, when you're 23, you kind of think you know everything, right? I got all sorts of really great lessons. I found out that when I was an intern, the news director I worked for got fired halfway through my internship because he decided it was too snowy to make it to what was the most important story that was going on in the region at the time. And he was replaced by somebody else. And my real boss, the program director who had hired me for the internship, brought me into his office and said, I feel bad that you saw that, but I think it's an important lesson for you to have learned at this stage of your career. So I had seen some stuff and I felt like I was ready. So I got to this little town of Decorah, Iowa, and found out that the news director didn't just have to do the morning newscast, but I also had to host several shows a week. Tuesday mornings was the Ag Report, co-hosted by the guy from the Winneshiek County Extension Service. One day was a show called Our Town, which was an interview show that was for a while hosted at a local restaurant called the Cliff House. And then after the Cliff House declined to renew its advertising contract, we moved to McDonald's. And there's nothing like interviewing people in a McDonald's. And one day a week, we had the Trading Post show.
Sort of like a free trader. People can call in and list their wares.
Yeah, exactly. It was, I have this thing, and if I remember correctly, and this was a while ago, like 10,000 years ago, but I don't think you could sell things for money. You had it literally was a trading post. I have these things free to a good home or whatever, and I thought, I was 23 and I could pretty much handle anything along those lines. The problem was, I was a 23-year-old guy who had grown up in a pretty sheltered environment in suburban Maryland, where my connection with the farming universe consisted of buying stuff in the produce section of the giant food store in the DC area.
Yeah.
So when people started calling in with very specific farming implements and farming related things, I had no earthly idea what they were talking about. And that came to a head, kind of literally, now that I think of it, when someone called in and said they had 6 laying hens, which they wanted to trade, and I kid you not, for the use of a manure spreader.
Okay.
And at some level, I understood what a manure spreader was, but I had no earthly idea what a laying hen was.
Okay.
And I had this person repeat himself. I feel like it was 3 times, but it might as well have been 50 times because he could say laying hens as many times as he wanted, and I still would have no idea what he was talking about. And at that moment, I'm sure that it exposed me as a fraud because not only did I not know what he was talking about, but I also didn't know enough to make a joke about not knowing what I was talking about. I just got flustered on the air.
The nice thing about live radio, though, is that at the end of the shift, it's over, and tomorrow you have another chance.
Exactly. And that happens every day, every moment.
Let's get to today's storyteller. This is Michael McGuire, live on stage at the Howell Grand Slam, telling his A for effort, fake it till you make it story at Gulick Theater in Canton.
When one is a young artist living in New York City on your own, you learn how to say yes a lot. You need to make friends, you need to build alliances, and you need to generate income. So you learn how to say yes a lot. As it's said, artists become jack of all trades because you need to learn how to do a lot of things to support yourself while you're pursuing your passion. And hopefully those are things that you will learn that one day will actually inform your art. This is certainly true of someone like me who was a high school dropout with absolutely zero skills. All of my friends had gone off to college. They thought I was the cool one. I was living in New York. I had a studio apartment out in Brooklyn. I was chasing down auditions, handing out headshots. In truth, I was envious of them because they were still in a safe environment. They were in a nurturing and fostering environment. And I was in New York City on my own, navigating a seascape of anxiety and panic, waiting for my ship to come in. So I would say yes to just about anything. Data entry, sure, I can do that. Can you drive a truck? Yeah, sure, I can do that. Are you a good carpenter? You bet. I also got fired a lot. And I had a mouth. It was my defense mechanism for covering up the deep well of self-doubt. Wanted, short order cook, Slade's Restaurant, Brooklyn, New York. It's in the neighborhood. Yeah, I can do that. I couldn't cook shit. I basically subsisted on bong hits and ramen noodles. I had no business being in a New York City kitchen. But there I was. This was a crack team of New York City short order cooks. They were the best in the business. They were fast, they were fascinating, they were a well-oiled machine. They were incredible to watch. And I think they hired me because they needed an omega. I was kind of their jester. But they were showing me stuff, and it was very, very cool. Eventually, I made my way up to the line, and I was dropping fries and prepping hamburgers and sending out salads. And it was great. Now, New Year's Day is my birthday, and I had the day off. So all my friends came back from college, and we went to this house party and had a great time, and I came back to my apartment about 9 o'clock in the morning. And the plan for that day was that I was going to hang out with my mom and my stepdad, and my birthday treat was going to be my stepfather's killer chocolate chip cookies. If anybody knows me, the way to my heart is a chocolate chip cookie. And that's what the plan was for that day. And the phone rings. I figured it's probably a birthday message, so I pick it up, and it's the restaurant. The entire kitchen staff had gone out for New Year's Eve somewhere outside of the city and gotten some hellified trouble, and they were all in jail up in Rockland County, and they weren't coming back till Monday morning. Could I come in and work the New Year's Day brunch? Well, yeah, sure. How bad could it be? I mean, breakfasts at Slade's were typically super busy, and I avoided them like the plague. You know, like flipping an omelet was like the extent of my finesse. But I figured New Year's Day, everybody's like me, right? I mean, they're drunk, they're coming home, they're just getting in, they're still sleeping. Who's going to come? I'm going to crack a few eggs, go home, no problem. So, yeah, I can do that. And I started making my way through Brooklyn Heights, beautiful day, on my way over to the restaurant. And I see this incredibly long line of people going up Montague Street to Henry Street and then all the way down to Pierpont. And I thought, wow, this is cool. Must be some New Year's Day event on the Brooklyn Promenade. Maybe there's like live music or something. So I turn the corner and that line stops right in front of Slade's restaurant. And I see Beth, the manager, she's out front in her pink sweater, and she sees me and she goes, "Hey, yay, the cook is here." And there's this applause that goes up all the way up Montague Street, around the corner into Pierpont. And so I walk over to Beth and I look right at her and I say, "What the f*** is a hollandaise sauce? Like, what's actually in that shit?" And she looked at me and we kind of shared this look of like, I am entirely unqualified for this moment. And I look at Elaine, the bartender, as I walk in and I say, "Just get them drunk. Just start sending Bloody Marys over the bars." And I go to the back and Beth's boyfriend, Nick, is in there and he's still in his tuxedo from the night before and he's cracking eggs. And I just jump in there and Beth's washing pans. And Nick found this binder that had the mise en place for all of the recipes for the menu. And then it begins. And the restaurant business is actually kind of cool because there's a dance, there's a rhythm to it. The people come in, you start hearing the voices, you hear the movement of the chairs and the furniture, and the music goes on, and the waiters are running back and forth, and you hear the clinking of glasses. And the tickets come in, and you make the food and the plates go out, you put the tickets down and more tickets come up. And Nick stood on a milk crate in his tuxedo with that binder, basically expediting me, like a carnival barker, shouting recipes out at me, expediting, "Drop fries now, you need more Western omelet stuff here," and he just kind of ran the kitchen while I slung food around. And the next thing I know, it's dark out, and the dining room is kind of quiet, and no food had come back. And Beth comes into the kitchen, and she's a little tipsy now from the Bloody Marys that Elaine's been sending over the bar. And she says, "Michael, there's someone here to see you." And I said, "Oh." Go out in the dining room, and my mom and my stepdad are walking through the dining room with a platter of chocolate chip cookies. And we sat in the back, drinking champagne and eating chocolate chip cookies. And on New Year's Day, on my 21st birthday, 1986, I fed the entirety of Brooklyn Heights a New Year's Day brunch. And I was able to do it because I knew that I couldn't. I was able to do it because I took the onus off myself and I accepted the help. And I realized that all those times I was saying, "Yeah, I can do that," I was really saying, "Maybe. I'll try my best."
That's going to do it for this week. Come back next time for 2 stories from Misha Tenser.
"I can't afford to pay this entire bill, but maybe I can give you $50 and then you can take the Drakkar Noir for the remainder." And he's like, "No, I absolutely cannot do that. First of all, this bottle is 2/3 full. You can't barter for a restaurant bill. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my employee discount on your meal, and you're going to walk out, you're not going to tip me, and you're never going to come back."
The Howl is a co-production of NCPR and the Adirondack Center for Writing in Saranac Lake. The show is written, produced, edited, and hosted by me. I'm Ethan Shanty. David Summerstein is our script supervisor. Bill Hanel is our director of digital services. Anna Williams-Bergen is our digital project specialist, and our theme music is by famous letter writer of Plattsburgh. For more stories, visit ncpr.org/howl, and you can pitch me your story for a chance to appear on the show when you write to ethan@ncpr.org. See you next time for North Country Public Radio. I'm Ethan Shanty. This is The Howl.